thoughts on the episode as you weren't able to join us last night.
All right. So I've not watched the stream that you three did yesterday. So I don't know you guys' thoughts. I don't know what anyone else's thoughts are on this, but I imagine my thoughts, like I don't really have a cold take here. Or I don't really have a hot take here. I imagine my take is really, really cold, but I liked the episode for the most part. I thought it was a very beautiful episode, very wonderfully filmed, excellent musical choices. This scene right here in the background with the three of them right there, kind of strolling off into the sunset. I thought that was absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. The music almost brought a tear to my eye. Sir Arlen kind of veering off to go to heaven. I thought that was absolutely beautiful. And then, you're eating a nice bowl of ramen, just some delicious chicken ramen. There's two soft boiled eggs in there. Oh man, it's so yummy, so delicious. And then you get to the bottom and you just see this big pile of shit, of mosquito shit. And oh my gosh, did it spoil my delicious ramen dinner for me? All right. I'm sorry, guys. I try not to vent emotionally. Thanks, Grease, for giving me the floor.
Welcome.
I'm not like one of these like critical drinker, like nerd-erotic types that are like, oh, like Rage Against the Machine. I hate everything. No, like I like to give, the benefit of the doubt to everything, try to be balanced in my take. But man, did that ending really shit on the episode and on my thoughts of the season and on my thoughts on MAEKAR, the character as a whole. It has since been revealed that the character of MAEKAR will not be appearing in season 2, which if that's the case, what was the point of giving him that scene where it's like, oh, where is my son? It's like, well, why? Was it just for the lulz? Was it just to make the audience laugh and be like, oh, haha, he lost his son again. Haha, that's so funny. Why? Like, what does that serve? What point does that serve? It makes no sense to the character. MAEKAR cares about his children. He was looking for them for the first 3 episodes. He was worried about where Egg was. And then all of a sudden, at the very end, which I mean, he was worried about Egg. Now he's going to be gone for a whole season. Be like, oh, where's my son? Who the hell cares? I'll just sit back for a whole season because I don't give a shit. And it's like, oh, I mean, I never gave Egg my blessing. Then why does Egg have your boot with your ring in it and the sworn sword? Oh, did Egg steal your ring? Well, that just shits on Egg's character too. What the is wrong? Oh my gosh.
I never thought we would see this crash out from JC in this show.
And I just want to reiterate, I liked the episode. For 30 of those 31 minutes, I liked it. But I'm sorry, it really is getting to the bottom of your delicious chicken ramen with 2 eggs, some, I don't know, just it's delicious. It's the best broth you've ever had, and then you dig the spoon to the very bottom and you literally pull out shit, writing shit, feces, whatever Dunk shat out in the first episode, that's what you get in your ramen. I don't know what Ira Parker is doing with the character of MAEKAR. It's clear to me. I should have known something was up because when they broke, so the last 7 to 8 pages of the Hedge Knight novella, and Grease, I'm sorry, I'm talking.
No, you're good. I'm gonna break it down a little bit more after you go.
Those last 7 to 8 pages is the conversation between MAEKAR and Dunk, and they split it into 2 parts for the purpose of this episode, which I understand they have to because they have to split apart. They have to stretch out 7 episodes into 30 minutes worth of content, which is fine. So they split the conversation. So the first half of the conversation was MAEKAR asking Dunk to come be his knight for him at Summerhall, and Dunk is like, I don't want to be around princes. And then the second half was then Dunk saying, hey, Egg should come with me. And MAEKAR is like, no, he shouldn't. Which is fair. That's exactly what happened in the novella. And again, I'm not a book snob, but I'm just saying that's, that makes sense for the characters that we've established here in the show. However, then MAEKAR added a line that was not in the book. And at first I was like, oh, that's weird. It's like, oh, well, I just kind of went with it. And again, I'm not against changes. I just thought it was a strange addition where he's like, oh, but he's my last son. And it's like, oh, okay. They didn't, in the book, MAEKAR just kind of storms off in silence. And then Egg comes in at the very end and he's like, oh, my father changed his mind and he let me go with you. And the implication of that is that MAEKAR had listened to Dunk's speech. He was like, because Dunk had told MAEKAR, you know, Daron, he was around privilege his whole life. Arion, he ate, this very rare and juicy and rich and bloody meat. He was around privilege. These two were raised in privilege and in the company of rich people, in the company of rich, feastings and princes and all this stuff. And look how they turned out. Do you want your son Egg to turn out like that? And MAEKAR doesn't say anything and he just storms off. And then Egg comes back at the end and it's like, oh, MAEKAR listened to Dunk. He just needed some time to seethe and to contemplate it. And it's like, you're right, Dunk. I don't want Egg to turn out to be like that. Here, Egg, go with Dunk. Live amongst the common folk. Live amongst the hedges. That way you'll learn, what it's like to be a common folk and not grow up to be like Arion or Daron. But no, here it's like, oh, Dunk, I'm listening to you. But despite that, I don't care. I want Egg to grow up to be like Daron and Arion. I don't give a shit. Come with me, Egg. You're not coming. You're not going with Dunk. Oh, Egg has gone missing now. Oh, like I don't know. Like the character that the show is going for MAEKAR, they're going for a MAEKAR that loves his children, which is totally like that's awesome. And he's a more flawed father. He's a father who doesn't. He's got he doesn't know what's best for his children. So that's an interesting character. However, I think it makes more sense. There's more versatility and more nuance to a character that, acknowledges his mistakes and it's like, oh, look how Daron and Arion turned out. I've learned from my mistakes. Sure, Egg, go with Dunk. Here's my boot. Here's the ring inside the boot. Take it with you. Use the ring whenever you come into trouble, but don't reveal your identity. That has more nuance and more versatility than whatever this was at the end. I hated it. I absolutely despised it. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm glad you got that out of your system. So let me because again, I've had a little bit more time to maybe think about this and to have my full thoughts. So just to refresh for people that were not in the stream, my thoughts last night were generally that I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. I needed to see more of where they were going with it. But upon sleeping on it, thinking about it, I've become a hater of the change. I just think that let's take a step back. So what I think they were going for is I think they were going for the idea that MAEKAR has a lot of pride. He's worried about his legacy, which is all stuff that is there in the book as well. And when you look at his sons, MAEKAR has, in his eyes, failed. Daron's a drunk. Arion is a cruel guy that's now being sent into exile. Aemon's a maester. And so Egg is what he has left. And so what I think they're trying to go for is the reason MAEKAR is not willing to give up Egg is because if he does that, it's an admittance that he failed as a parent. That's the way I view it. And so I do think that I understand that. I think it takes away, though, from any character arc MAEKAR had throughout the season, because he starts off that way. He starts off trying to be this person that's trying to get Arion and Daron to show, well on their family at this tournament. That all goes horribly wrong. And when you have a character like MAEKAR that should be looking at these events especially after Baelor's death and going, maybe the way I've parented, the way my children have grown up, Daron's actions, him not coming to the tournament directly leads to what he does. Arion and the actions that he does directly leads to Baelor's death. What you see in the book, which is so powerful and strong, is MAEKAR overcomes that pride. He overcomes all these things, and he has a really great character arc where by the end of it, again, it's kind of left ambiguous. That's the argument I've seen a lot of people say, is that, okay, MAEKAR doesn't actually say Egg can go with you, Dunk, or anything like that. Egg just shows up later. But it's made very clear in the book that MAEKAR wanted him to go. MAEKAR has that. And even in the way that it's done, and it's very different in the show as well. This is something I didn't take a huge, big offense of because I understood why they did it. But even in the dynamic of MAEKAR goes to Dunk's camp at a tree. MAEKAR does not summon Dunk like in the show. So it's showing that MAEKAR is, putting his pride to the side, going to Dunk, and them actually having a conversation about things, and then having that character growth. So for MAEKAR, in the book, he has a very concrete and understandable character arc, and it's natural to where it gets there. In the show, they undercut that and made it to where he doesn't really have much of a character arc in this season, like he does in terms of Baelor's death, but It doesn't really change him in terms of the way he views his sons and Egg specifically. So I think that's my issue with it for MAEKAR specifically. So then let's take a step forward, because I did see, and JC, you brought this up as well about how it affects Egg. So Kara says it doesn't shit on Egg. He's a kid and he was determined to go with Dunk. He'll get his father's blessing at some point. The problem I have with this statement is, and Kara, I love you, by the way, you're awesome. I disagree on the fact that Egg, if we think about his characterization, his character arc from episode 1 to episode 6, we start the season with Dunk lies, or I guess doesn't lie, but he doesn't tell the truth. You know, he keeps things a secret to Dunk, goes with him, and that actually ends up getting Dunk in trouble. You think back to episode, I believe it was 4, where Baylor tells Dunk, there might not have been any, harmful consequences or things or ill intent that Egg was trying to do, but it has caused some. It has caused Dunk's life to be at risk. It has caused all these things. And so what has episode 6 done? It is just reverted that. It's gone, okay, Egg has not learned at all. He has not learned. He's done the exact same thing, and that might have consequences again. So it kind of undercuts Egg's development as well throughout the season, because now it shows that he didn't learn from those mistakes. He didn't learn from what happened in this season. And so I think that's the point. So I did want to address that, JC. I do want to point out, though, like you said, I loved almost all this episode.
Yeah.
Outside of the MAEKAR stuff, there was a lot to like in this episode, whether that was the Lionel conversation at the beginning. Raymond was great in this episode. Valar was good in this episode. Daron was great. There's a lot to like. It's just, the last thing we're going to see of this show for a year is that. And so I don't know. Anything you want to add to that, JC, or anything else you want to talk about with specifically the MAEKAR stuff?
That's true. I had neglected. You mentioned it. MAEKAR is the one in the book who goes on his own to seek out Dunk and the Tall.
Yep.
Like, Dunk doesn't. It was on MAEKAR's own agency, his own accord, that he was like, I want to speak to this Dunk and, establish a few things between us, like discuss a couple of things. And it shows more agency. This show interpretation of MAEKAR is different than the book interpretation of MAEKAR. And I know I'm coming from the perspective of someone who is a book reader first, a quote unquote book snob or whatever. And I totally get that. I totally get that, from a book purist, I'm going to have a comparison point to compare the show to the book. So inevitably there's going to be things here that I'm like, it wasn't like that in the book. Why did they do this? It's worse than the book, or is it better? Most times it's worse. However, even establishing within the context of the own show, of the show itself, removed from the book, I just don't think this change works. Like, what does this do for the character of MAEKAR besides just reinforce the fact that, okay, well, MAEKAR didn't learn anything. He's going to be gone for a whole season. He's not going to give a shit about looking for his son. Well, I'm assuming, again, this is just based off of information that has been made available, that MAEKAR's not going to be here in season 2. But
JC, let me interrupt you real quick. Let's just say even MAEKAR's not in the season, but let's say we get some sort of confirmation that MAEKAR accepts Egg's decision. It still undercuts that moment, because it was Egg forcing MAEKAR's hand, not that MAEKAR actually had a character arc. It was more like, now that it's happened, MAEKAR just is kind of accepting it, but it wasn't his decision. So I just want to throw that in there as well, JC, but you can continue.
Gotcha. So I don't know. For the character of MAEKAR established within the context of the show, why would this father, who cares so much about his children, who in episode 5 was like yelling, my boy, as he was running after Arion being attacked and he was being stopped, and he was trying to save Arion from being beaten bloody by Dunk. This person who was looking for Egg for the first 3 episodes, all of a sudden he's going to just sit back and chill for all of season 2 and not do shit about it. It really angers me. And again, I know this is the show's interpretation of MAEKAR. It's different from the book. I need to separate the book from the show. And that's totally fair. I know that's a totally valid critique that probably a lot of chat currently, I'm not looking at chat, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. A lot of chat currently has, like, JC, just shut up. Like, it's book and the show are 2 separate things. But I'm sorry. I do have that comparison point. It's like, which one is more nuanced and which one is better? Well, I'm going to look at the book version. I'm seeing more versatility here with that character and more nuance with that character than I have seen so far within the first 6 episodes of The Night of the Seven Kingdoms with this version of MAEKAR. The book version is superior from what I have seen thus far. Maybe season 2 opens with the Targ soldiers running after Dunk and Egg giving Egg Maekar's ring as protection. But see, I would have preferred if we had seen that on screen. And Sagan, thank you so much for your comment. I'm not angry at you. I'm just angry in general. But thank you for your chat. Um, that is true. Like they could have a scene where, like at the very beginning of episode 1, the Targ soldiers catch up to Dunk. It's like, Dunk, Sir Dunk, stop. Oh, here's a ring and a boot. All right, thank you, Sir Dunk. Maekar finally came through and he accepted that Egg is gonna go with you. Well, then why have that scene at the end of season 1 then where it's going to be like, "Oh, where's my boy? Where's my boy?" Was it just for the lulz? Was it just for having a little haha funny moment at the end? I don't know. I didn't like it, and I know that this perspective of a book reader, and I know a lot of show watchers didn't even notice. A lot of people who haven't read the book didn't even notice that change. They're like, "Oh, like it's just funny, haha." But I think I'm just upset because of the potential ripple effects this scene could have if it's not addressed in later seasons, because it looks like it's not going to be addressed for season 2, and I'm just upset. I'm really upset.
Yeah, I will throw out like a theory I've seen on Twitter about his ring is that we don't actually see Maekar have his ring on in the final shot, so maybe Egg stole it. I'm not sure how I feel about that,
I would hate
but
that.
another thing that makes me question though is when Egg goes missing in the first episode, it's because his brother's drunk. Here it is like Egg is sneaking out of the castle. The Targaryens have a lot of guards. It's kind of interesting that he just kind of sneaks away, but I don't know. I do think very questionable. I don't know. I just, and maybe this is because, again, I have a clear bias. I've had this since the early episodes. I've told you guys this. Maekar is my favorite character from the book of this story, especially of the Targaryens. I love his characterization, and it's so weird because he's such a mixed bag in this show for me. One episode, like this episode, is the closest we ever get to the Maekar of the book because almost every line he has in this episode is straight from the book. It is copy and paste. And so he feels the most like the Maekar of the book because he's a lot more serious, dealing with grief and emotion. But then you go and you view the other episodes, it's like, this is not Maekar from the book at all. And so that's a clear distinction I had to make. Like, this is just their interpretation of the character. He's a lot more antagonistic to people. He's kind of a lot more arrogant. And so he's such a weird character to talk about because depending on what scene you're watching, you might love the scene or you might not like the scene. The added scene where Egg goes to Aerion and it looks like he might actually try to kill him, I actually thought was a very good scene. And it's so interesting because episode 6 spends so much time giving us extra scenes that seem to be foreshadowing the ending of Egg going with Dunk. And so it's so weird to me because then you rewatch those scenes and you go, they don't really do that. They are good in their own right of like saying, okay, Egg and Maekar had a better relationship than maybe we thought, and it was a nice wholesome moment between the two. But it kind of rings hollow when then you have the end of it. It's Maekar isn't willing to do what's probably best for Egg. He's going to be selfish and try to keep Egg in the same cycle that is kind of destroyed his family. So I don't know. Yeah. Becky asks, I wonder why they made Maekar so sassy. JC, do you have any thoughts on why they did that?
Well, first of all, hi Becky. Hope you're able to get some sleep. And I haven't seen the stream, but I hope that this episode lived up to all of your expectations and this season lived up to the expectations of your favorite book. Hopefully you didn't listen to my first 5-minute crash
Becky,
out rant.
please go back. Please go back. It was so funny. It was like a little glimpse of our House of the Dragon streams. Like actually, not foreshadowing. Like it was great.
Pretty much. Oh, hold on. Give me a second, Grease. I'm having audio issues. Hold on. Give me a second.
Sounds good. So in terms of Maekar being sassy, I don't really know why they did that. I think mainly because of the tone of the show. Maekar, given the book version, would have been a very big contrast to this show. So I think by making him sassy, they were able to use him for a more comedy, like things we've talked about in the past, where he makes a comment about what is a trial of 7 and all that. It's kind of played for gags. Even the last scene is kind of played for a gag, like even though it is a huge moment that Maekar didn't actually give his blessing. and the implications that has, the way it is also depicted is for kind of a funny, in the way it's done. So yeah, uh, I don't know. I just haven't really enjoyed it much. I'm going to be very interested to see when we do a certain tier list where we put MAEKAR,
That's right.
because it's so interesting. He's such a polarizing character. I've seen, all on my social media, I have a lot of people that love him, a lot of people that hate him. So yeah, it's very, very interesting, JC. Very interesting. Do you want to continue on the MAEKAR, or do you want to move on?
Let's talk a little bit more about the MAEKAR, if that's okay.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. I know it was like only like a snippet of the episode, but it really just like infuriated me so much. Um, with Becky the Cruel in full force. I'd be very curious to see what Becky the Cruel is like. And hope you do enjoy the beginning of the stream, Becky. Ghost, maybe they're doing it to add more plot to season 2. Have MAEKAR sending out soldiers to look for Egg while they are in the Reach. So that is a theory I've heard that, as we've talked about, Grease, yourself, myself, Becky, and Ricky, we talked about how the Sworn Sword, it's a great book to read, but as far as something to watch on TV, it's not exactly the most exciting story to tell. And so they would need to stretch out certain elements of that story so that the casual audiences don't get bored. And so we were kind of pondering what could they possibly add to the Sworn Sword in order to make this into a more exciting 6th episode season. I don't think any of us suspected, well, maybe Ricky, because he had seen the show, he had seen the first season prior, but the other 3 of us, I don't think either of us suspected that, like, oh, they could just stretch it out with this little, cat and mouse game of like of MAEKAR soldiers hunting for Egg. And it's like, oh, they're getting closer with each passing episode. Let's add scenes to the Targaryen soldiers getting closer and closer to catching up to Duncan Egg. I don't think any of us suspected that, but that is a possibility. They could do that. But I would have, it's not worth it for me. I would prefer that season 2, that we would delve more into Blackfire lore, that we would delve more into the lore of Aegon the Unworthy and Daemon Blackfire and all that stuff, as opposed to spending screen time on like, oh, look, MAEKAR soldiers are getting that much closer to Duncan Egg. Oh, there it comes. I would not like that, Ghost, but that looks very like it probably will happen. We'll see.
I'm not sure, because I know they have. It seems almost confirmed now we're going to see Dorne, at least to some degree, in the next season. Whether that's flashbacks, whether that we start out in Dorne in the next season. So I'm not sure where they're going to fit in the MAEKAR stuff. I almost view the MAEKAR stuff as more being something that they're going to use as a plot device for the characters of Egg and Dunk, because now Egg has lied to Dunk a second time. So I think it'll be, I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. I think it will be something that's used between the 2 characters to create a little bit of like drama between them, because, the second novella, from what I can remember, it doesn't have, a tremendous amount of drama between those 2 characters specifically. Like, it does to some degree about, oh, should we use the boot and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be mainly for their characters, is what I would guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure on that. It's a good conversation.
And Kara, I'm seeing here that you liked the. We're not trying to give you a hard time, Kara. Like, if you enjoyed the change with MAEKAR and you enjoyed the season as a whole, that's awesome. Like, we're not trying to convince you any differently. I think Grease and I are just venting our own personal frustrations with changes that we saw from the book that we personally did not agree with. These are just our own takes. Like, we're not trying to gatekeep anyone from not enjoying the show. But the fact that I don't know. I think it's just what's the old saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We've seen this before with Game of Thrones. We've seen this before with House of the Dragon, where it's like changes happen and they don't seem like they'll be big deals in the short term. But then in the long term, we see that the butterfly effect happens. These small ripple effects eventually create these huge tsunamis of stories that get changed down the line to something that just doesn't make sense. And so I'm seeing this ripple here with like, oh, MAEKAR did not actually give Egg his blessing to go with Dunk. And I'm already, perhaps, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm seeing all the potential changes that could come down the line, and none of them honestly appeal to me in the slightest.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that far in terms of like where you are, JC, because I feel like some of the changes just make how I view this season worse. I don't necessarily know how it's going to impact the rest of the show, but it does. like bring up some interesting ideas, like, for making this kind of change. What does that say for the future? Because this one to me just felt, I just don't know, think it needed to be there. I mean, they
Yeah.
had the perfect ending. The shot you have in your background, JC, that was the perfect ending for the show. And it just felt like, why did we have to just throw in, it seems like almost a gag at the end, like Matthew has said, it just felt like, oh, they threw something in because we wanted the funny and maybe it'll have some drama for next season. So I don't know. And this is my whole point with Egg that Borbin points out. The lie kind of flies in the face of the conversation in the prison cell where Duncan makes it clear lies are not acceptable. Yeah, Dunk does not want to be used in the way that he was before. He makes it very abundantly clear. And also, when you have Baylor who addresses this right away in Egg's presence about his actions, and Egg has not learned from them, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot more to say. I'll say this in terms of how I feel about at least the MAEKAR change and how it makes me view the first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is extremely similar to House of the Dragon season 1, where
Yeah.
I'm still very excited for the next season, but I can look back at the season and go, there were some hiccups here that if they can improve, I think the show will continue. If they lean into these hiccups and they become more frequent, the show will start to flounder. So it's kind of exactly how I feel. I think it was a good starting season that had flaws in most of the episodes. There was at least one or two things that, were not the best, but
Yeah.
overall a good starting season, JC.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, Grease, they added that scene as like a haha moment, and humor is subjective. I've just found myself with the scenes of added humor here throughout the season. I just think they've been very hit and miss with a lot of misses. And this one, if it was meant to be funny, for me personally, it was a big miss.
Agreed. Becky, yeah, I agree. George, maybe she get on that.
Can I just take a look at the chat here for a little bit?
Yes,
Highlight a
go
couple
ahead.
comments
Go
that I've
ahead.
seen. And again,
Yes.
thanks for being here, guys. Sorry, we're not like it's just hard when we're trying when there's conversation going on at the same time. We're trying to like pay attention to chat too. So earlier, someone had mentioned that episode 6 was George R. R. Martin's favorite. Did George R. R. Martin say this? I think he's at New York City Comic
I
Con. I
don't
thought
know.
he's at New York City Comic Con. They asked everybody what their favorite episode. I thought George R. R. Martin said episode 5 because it was the trial by 7, but and he actually spoiled, like, oh, it's the trial by 7. And Egg, you're actually going to be a prince one day. He was like spoiling it for everybody. And then the Ira Parker and the HBO were like, shut up, George. Don't talk anymore. You're spoiling stuff.
I can say this. I saw a post that I think the ratings of the episodes, this was the lowest, I believe, if I'm remembering that
Interesting.
correctly. I think it was this episode 1, episode 2, and then I think episode 5 was the highest, episode 4, and then episode 3. I think that was the order. So I don't know though, because it's hard to take away ratings because of the review bombing stuff that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
it's
so
hard to look at
cringy.
ratings at the moment right now. It's, guys, get a life. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if you
yeah,
love Breaking Bad, Ozymandias, which is a fantastic 10 out of 10 episode, then leave it alone. Leave it at 10 out of 10. If you
yeah,
loved, episode 4, episode 5 of The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and it's a 10 out of 10 for you, leave it alone. Don't like both Breaking Bad and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms are fantastic. You don't have to, do a little
yeah.
war. Um,
I guess I'll throw the Breaking Bad fans a bone though. That episode is better than episode 5 of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'll throw them a bone. It
oh
is
yeah.
better. That's my
I
opinion, but I believe it's significantly better.
There's nothing in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, sorry, Becky, that I've seen, and nothing in House of the Dragon that has matched my like level of like whoa that I watched
Yeah.
when I first watched Ozymandias. Ozymandias is perfect.
That's a Red Wedding episode of Breaking Bad. That's all I'll say. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
level that we're looking at. And the Red Wedding's not even a 10, which is bullshit, but whatever. Um, yeah, any other comments? More comments you want to look at, JC?
Yeah. Sorry. I know we're taking up some time. The Great Spring Sickness next season. Maybe. I think that'd be cool if we spent a couple scenes on that. And I saw someone else made mention that potentially we might see scenes in Dorne. I think that'd be cool too. Scenes on those things as opposed to MAEKAR soldiers' quest to catch up to Duncan Egg. Uh,
That's yeah.
yeah.
I spoilers, big spoilers here. Big, very big spoilers here. I'm just gonna say it. Valar has one of the best episodes of this episode, or has one of the best scenes of this episode, I should say. And we're never gonna see him again, more than likely. That's very unfortunate. Man, I wish his actor and Daron's actor had more of a bigger role, but that's kind of the problem when you only follow Dunk. And then they also kind of broke their rule because they also said we were only supposed to follow it through Dunk's POV, but then we also saw one through Egg's POV in the episode. I didn't actually think about that, but
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's right. When he tried to,
double-edged sword. Yeah. Double-edged
yeah.
swords of we're only focused on them. We don't get to see some of our other characters, unfortunately.
Let's see, Matthew Stewart. We've been burned too many times on book changes. That is true. So again, our feelings are coming from a place of emotional pain from the past and just being like, oh, we've been down this road before. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling down here, grease through the
Oh, you're good.
changes. I think casuals love this show so much they would turn on book snobs, like casuals versus books in the later seasons of Game of Thrones. I don't know. I mean, I am willing to admit that this change with MAEKAR, casual fans probably did not notice a thing. They're just like, oh, haha,
You say
MAEKAR.
that, JC, but my dad called this out too, and I didn't say anything. I didn't give any facial recognition. As soon as like he saw it, he was like, "Didn't they just ruin Maekar's arc of this season?" And I'm like, "Good thinking. That's good. It's good. It's almost like your dad or my dad. It's almost like we're connected."
Got that telepathic
Yeah.
familial thing going on. That's cool. Let's see.
I'll say this though, I do think it's a bit more nuanced than that comment said, because there are book fans that also like love the changes we're talking about. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's a book versus show issue right now. I think it's just certain people liked it, certain people didn't like it, and that's completely fair.
Yeah. Lionel was great. Agreed. Matthew and Becky for sure.
You know what, JC, since Lionel's being brought up, what did you think of the jazz at the beginning of the episode?
I didn't have a problem with it. It's just like, oh, it's that's like okay. Humor is subjective. That's like one of those
Yeah.
funnies, like, oh, it's just funny, haha. But it the reason I don't have a problem with it is because it fits Lionel Baratheon's character that has been established within the show. The MAEKAR change does not match neither the book nor the show counterpart of MAEKAR. So
I thought it was a weird choice. On my second rewatch, I was like, okay, you know what? Now yeah, it was a weird choice, but I don't have any like huge problems with it. I just think it was an interesting choice to start the episode.
yeah. I feel the post-credit scene was meant to be a meta joke that goes nowhere. How would you feel if that? If it's just so it's like one
You
of those
can't do that.
if it's like one of those Marvel post-credit scene. I forget which Marvel movie it was, but there was a Marvel movie where
There's a
like
lot of them that do this. A
yeah,
lot of them.
but there's a a lot of them have like just these jokes that are like, oh, haha, funny post-credit scene joke. But there's one that I remember vividly. I forget which movie it was, but Stan Lee shows up and he's like, I forget.
Oh yeah, he's a watcher or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, he's a watcher,
and he's
like,
he's in space or whatever.
the implication is that Stan Lee can see everything. He's the god of the universe, which is a cute meta joke, but it's just supposed to be like a one-off. Like he doesn't show up later in, Captain America Civil War and actually show up there in the movie. He's like, hey, Captain America, I am God. Like nothing like that.
Well, so many Marvel post-credit scenes just don't go anywhere, especially in the later stuff, because they change what they're gonna do. Like for a long time, they were going with what's the character that they were trying to make the bad villain that's in Loki season 1. They were basically trying to make that character be the villain, and he was a lot of post-credit stuff was revolved around him. Well, he's obviously not the main villain anymore as we're going to Doctor Doom. So yeah. I would hate this because it'd be like, then what was the point? You single-handedly for me made massive issues with both MAEKAR and Egg, and then it was just for a joke. It's just like, no, it has to go somewhere. I think it's even worse if they just don't address it at all. Yeah. It's worse to me fundamentally, but whole different thing.
Yeah, like if it's gonna be a post-credit scene, I would prefer that it be something that would have some kind of significance to the plot as opposed to just being a one-off.
Agreed.
Breaking Bad telling the Lannisters send their regards. Hey, Mr. White, Mr. White sends his regards. Mr. White, he'd be like, Heisenberg sends his regards. Jesse, get over here, Jesse.
We need to cook.
We need to cook, Jesse.
We need to cook these Night of the Seven Kingdoms ratings. Cook them.
This episode is 2 minutes late. It's gone 2 minutes over its past 30-minute expiration date. Henry Cavilla's Damon Blackfire cameo.
Next question.
Yeah.
No.
Let's see. The only scenes that weren't from Dunk's perspective were the scene with Aegon. Yeah, he was trying to neuter his brother there. Okay. My interpretation was that he was trying to neuter it, similar to the story that Egg told in episode 3 with Aerion trying to, remove his manhood. I thought that's what this episode was going for, with like now Egg, feeling the hairs on his head and fearing that he was turning into Aerion Brightflame, turning into Targaryen. So he grabbed the knife to play or remove Aerion's manhood. But I guess maybe he was trying to kill him.
I think he was just trying to straight up kill him.
Gotcha.
I don't know, but that's up for interpretation.
Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking through all these before we move on. Let's see.
I think you should do. I think this is a good talking point. So we see a flashback. Well, okay.
Yes, let's move. That's
There's
what we should move on. Yeah.
There's interpretation that either this is a flashback that we see with Dunk and Arlen, or it's like Dunk's own like inner monologue. Like this doesn't actually happen with Arlen. It's more him internalizing that he's maybe not a knight, and then also adding in funnies. Not sure which way you want to take it, but the show didn't necessarily confirm this, because I think Becky had a good way of putting this last night, that they didn't confirm it because it seems to be like a couple moments before Arlen dies. It's the exact same set piece. It seems like the storm's going to be rolling in, what we see in the beginning of the season. So there is time in which he could have been knighted, but in the show, it's basically like he's not knighted. But we're going to leave it ambiguous, I guess. But it's like 99% confirmed now. So
yeah.
Did you have any thoughts on the flashback or any of the meta joke at George that Red is pointing out here in the chat?
Yeah. Actually, is it okay, Grease, if this is our next topic, we move into the Arlen flashback?
So yeah, sure.
We might come back to MAEKAR later, but I think I've said my piece, and I don't know if you've had 2 streams. Maybe you've said your piece on the MAEKAR.
I'm pretty much done with that. I might make a video on MAEKAR, so I got to keep it together.
Perfect. So the Arlen flashback, it's interesting because this is the first flashback that we get where Arlen is not being the hi ho, singing Dothraki kind of Arlen. He's now being an actual Arlen with speaking dialogue lines. So I thought that was interesting. The big hoopla here is that for a while there, before Arlen kind of woke up, the implication was that because Dunk was like teary-eyed, he's like, "Why did you never knight me?" And then it's like, oh, this is the scene where Arlen dies, and Arlen's going to die having not knighted Dunk, confirmation that Dunk was never knighted. But then Arlen wakes up, and so then it's still quote unquote ambiguous as to whether or not Arlen ever knights Dunk, because we still don't, Arlen could have lived, I don't know how much longer from this point. So there was still another potential opportunity for Arlen to have knighted Dunk and keep that facade. However, I personally would have preferred. I liked the flashback. I liked seeing, I thought it was a sad moment. Dunk was crying and Arlen, is kind of close to his deathbed. But I would have preferred if we had kept that and then just remove that one line about why did you never knight me? Because I think it works better. The story works better when it's left up to interpretation, when it's ambiguous whether or not Dunk was knighted or not. Because otherwise, if you just spell it out for the reader, even though Arlen wakes up and it's still possible that Arlen may have knighted Dunk, it still puts the thought in the viewer's mind that like, oh, Dunk was never actually knighted. Thanks for giving me the answer, TV show. And it's just like, it removes the nuance. I am definitely a proponent. I'm going to sound like a snob here. I'm definitely a proponent of show, don't tell. Show Dunk struggling to knight someone on the battlefield before a trial by 7 and then have Lionel Baratheon actually knight them. That is good show. That is good implication. Don't tell me verbatim, why did you never knight me? It removes the, I don't know, I feel like it leaves it up to, it removes the ambiguousness, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah, it's just something where it's like, trust your viewer. I mean, the viewer, you've laid a lot of, you've gone beyond what the book did in terms of foreshadowing that he's not a knight. Just trust that the audience knows that, that they can deduce that. And even if they can't, that's not a bad thing. If they can't figure it out, well, that's fine. The book, a lot of people say, oh, it's very obvious in the book. And I feel like a lot of that's because if you're on a Song of Ice and Fire channel, you're very into this world. You're into the lore. You're into all this stuff. And you've probably read A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms multiple times. So, maybe the astute reader picked it up very much on their first read. I was not one of those astute readers. I didn't pick up on that Dunk was not probably a knight in the book because George doesn't make it front of your face, just Dunk. He doesn't tell you this. He doesn't go, Dunk is not a knight, and then it's a joke. So it's like, okay, it's technically not confirmed, but it is confirmed, but it's not. And like Zaz says, like you can see the storm clouds beginning to form in the distance. So like at best, Arlen maybe was living for another couple minutes, hour, whatever. So it's just kind of like, okay. I mean, I just feel like it was kind of unnecessary. They could have done something else with Dunk and Arlen, like you said. I really like when they try to get serious with Arlen. I just wish we saw more of it. And that paints the question, like, will we see more of him in the show? Which is, I don't know, because people have posed the idea like the end of the season does end on this, like, okay, it's Arlen's kind of goodbye. It's him
Yeah.
kind of passing on. It's like, is that him passing the torch, moving towards we're not going to see Arlen anymore in the show? I would be very sad about that because we just didn't get to see a lot of Arlen in terms of more of the serious side of him. We didn't get to see the man that maybe Dunk looks up to. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything you want to add to that, JC, in terms of the Arlen conversation, even for the whole season, just in general about where we are with the character?
My preference would be if this scene right here, is the last we see of Arlen. Not because I don't want to see more Arlen flashbacks, but because I think this is such a perfect ending for the character of Arlen. Him veering left to go off into the seven heavens. I thought that was a super appropriate ending for the character. And then if we see him pop up again, it kind of just dilutes the impact of this ending. So, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed, but my preference would be if this is the last we see of Arlen.
Fair. Um, this is a pretty insightful comment from Kyle. The show title
Yeah.
is a lie. Dunk is no knight, and there's 9 kingdoms, not 7, is what my wife told me, and she's casual. I do want to point this out. It's not actually 9 kingdoms because the way that was formatted would have been before Aegon's conquest, and so that was again, the Crownlands weren't a thing. The Riverlands were not really a thing. They were ruled by the Ironborn. So at the time, it was like, that's why it's the 7 kingdoms, Aegon and all that. So yeah, but yeah, that is a little bit of an explanation there for the 9 kingdoms thing. It might make sense in the show, but there's a reason it's called the 7 kingdoms, not the 9. But that's a whole different thing. Anything else you see comment wise you want to talk about before we move on to another topic?
Well, I mean, the whole thing about lies having power, that's true. Like, Dunk lied about being a knight.
Yeah.
There are allegedly no seven kingdoms, it's nine kingdoms. Egg lied about MAEKAR giving him his blessing. So the theme that I.R. Parker is going for is that, there's these truths, like people perceive a truth, but it's really built on a lie. And so, that's fine. Like there's some kind of theming going on there, but I think my preference would be if the lie of Dunk not being a knight was not spelled out for the reader, and my preference would be that if Egg's lie wasn't actually a lie.
Yeah, I mean, you could also tie this into the open of the episode with Lionel talking about Baelor and why he was motivated to back Dunk. Is that predicated on a lie? That Baelor just did that because, one, he didn't feel as there was any real consequences to him fighting for Dunk's side. And it could also be seen as kind of like propaganda, trying to get the people back on the Targaryen side. And you see how people kind of start to root for Dunk's side, and a lot of that comes from Baelor. They weren't rooting for him at all when Dunk didn't have Baelor on his side. So there's a lot to do with that in this episode. I just don't think I liked how it was handled necessarily.
Yeah. Someone mentioned earlier, I forgot who it was, but the penny tree thing. I thought that was a really sweet moment, actually. It's
Agreed.
very, very wonderful. It was that actually in the book, the story, or not just the novellas, but was that in the main series, that the story about how people leave pennies behind and then they go off to war, and if they don't come back to remove the penny, that means they died in war?
I don't remember. I think Kara said something about it getting mentioned. So Kara said, "Did you guys remember that the actual penny tree is described in Jamie's last chapter
That's
in A
right.
Dance with Dragons?"
Yes, that's right.
I
That's
didn't.
right. Okay, I remember. Yes, because there's just one random Jamie chapter at the very end where it's like nothing really happens. It's just Jamie going through Penny Tree, and I think he does see the tree with pennies, and he's like, "Oh, cool." And then I think he makes a few references to Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and then that's when Brienne kind of comes tumbling in. It's like, "Oh, Jamie, Sir Jamie, come with me. Uh, I found the children." And it's just a trap set by Lady Stoneheart. That is true. Um, yeah,
Based
yeah.
on another lie. Let's tie it in. Brienne also lying to Jamie.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. Um, so but the whole story of the penny tree, I thought that was really cool. It was very sweet with Dunk leaving a penny there on the tree. Uh, yeah, and again, the music just underscoring that scene is absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. The Arlen flashback, with exception of the "Why did you never knight me" line, I really liked.
Yeah. And like I said, I want people to understand this. I liked this episode up until
Yeah.
basically the very end. Like because we had both me and JC had been and warned by a certain German man uh that this was his least favorite episode, or at least tied for it, and that there was something there that would be very like controversial. And I gave you guys even some context when I made my Dunk not being a night video. I asked Ricky, should I make that video now or wait till the season ends? And he told me now. So
Hmm.
it's interesting because I watched the whole episode, and right before, like as the title crawl went, I was sitting there and I was like, huh, that was a pretty good episode. I liked the episode. I think it was
Yeah.
I would have rated it a lot higher. And then that last thing. So I really want you guys to understand that it's when we do these live streams, because we're talking with each other, it's so much easier to talk about what the episode might not have done well, because there's nuance there's different conversations we might have. If me and JC just go through, oh, did you like the Daron scene of his added scene? We probably both respect. I really liked him. I like his
Yeah.
actor. There's only so much you can say about it. But
The
yeah, I just wanted to
Valar
point that out,
scene.
JC. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when the first things we typically talk about on the stream are the things that stood out to us the most, or things that had the biggest emotional impact
Yeah.
on Grease, myself, Becky, Ricky. So if it just happens to be something negative, like the MAEKAR scene, that's the first thing that will, you know, stream of consciousness, the first thing you'll talk about. It's like, oh, that's the scene that had the most emotional impact on me. Whereas if it was something, super positive, let's say it's Ozymandias from Breaking Bad, then I don't know. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but
Don't spoil any Breaking Bad stuff.
yeah, yeah. We'd be talking about the things that we enjoyed from that episode first and foremost, which is
Yeah.
the entire episode. So,
It would just be, hey, the episode's good. Stream's over. I liked it. It was good. But
nah.
yeah. So yeah, a lot of good stuff in the episode. I'm trying to think if
Yeah.
there's any other big talking points. I know we talked about last night. Now that we've gotten the whole season, JC, how do you kind of view the whole season, like as a whole? What do you think they did well? What do you think they did not so well?
With the exception of that final MAEKAR scene and a couple of poop scenes here and there that I did feel were out of place, that I did not like whatsoever. Those moments that were few and far between, I really liked the season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I thought they really brought this novella to life. I thought a few of the changes that they made were for the best. I liked seeing Tanzel Too Tall's more giant puppets. I liked seeing Tanzel and Dunk interact a bit more here than they do in the book. I would have preferred to have seen maybe a little bit more of Tanzel, but that's okay. I liked the tug of war between Lionel the tug of war scene. I forgot the context. Lionel Baratheon kind of asking Dunk like, "Ah, I need someone." You think he's like he needs someone for battle? It's
Will
like,
you
"Oh,
go to war with me? Or
will you go to
whatever he
war?"
says.
Yeah, like these added party scenes with Lionel, they add flavor in a good way to the novella. There's other changes I don't like. Again, poop, burp, toilet humor, some of that stuff. I'm not a big fan of MAEKAR, but all in all, I am very glad that the show exists. I think it's a very beautifully shot show, gorgeous colors, absolutely beautiful. Again, I can't stop talking about the music. The music is beautiful. This scene right here, very Hobbit esque, Lord of the Rings esque music, the Shire esque. Oh my gosh, it brought a tear to my eye. I loved it. I, all in all, really enjoyed this season, even with a couple of rough spots here and there.
Zach, guess what? You can find out about this topic on another video like that was 1 or 2 weeks ago. Can't remember. But yeah, Lionel might go to war. That might be something that happens. Possibly. We might get there in the show. Who knows? But yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get what is your rating for season one out of 10? Like as a overall um project or show, what would you give it?
I would give it an 8 for the whole season. I would give it an
The
eight and
whole
a
season.
half, 8.5.
Okay. What would you give this episode specifically? Episode 6.
It was going up to like an 8.5, maybe a 9, and then that last scene happened and it got it down to an 8. So
Yeah.
8 out of 10
We're
because everything else was just super strong. So 8 out of
agreed.
10.
We're basically on the same wavelength. I gave this episode an 8 out of 10. I think last night I was debating an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10, and now I'm like on a firm 8 out of 10. And I think
Yeah.
good enough to say there was a lot to like in the episode, but enough to be like, it kind of held it back.
Yeah.
And I'm same rating, 8.5. I believe that's the same rating I gave House of the Dragon season 1. I hate to keep parroting myself, but I feel almost the exact same. I feel like I'm excited for the next season. I think it's a great starting season. It just felt like it was held back by some very minor, not I don't want to say minor things, but very like little screen time things that could have made this season even better.
Yeah.
And that's what's so frustrating. That's what's so frustrating when you come on here and you're like, okay, now the main negative I feel like of the entire show was its final scene.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about rating the season is like we might have recency bias, because of we're fresh off this. We might process the change and maybe we soften on it. I don't know, but yeah,
That's
I don't
that's
know.
interesting you gave this season the same rating as House of the Dragon season 1. I actually like or Night of the Seven Kingdoms season 1 better than House of the Dragon season 1.
So I'll say this. A lot of people I think would be surprised me saying that because of my thoughts on House of the Dragon now. But going back to the House of the Dragon season 1, I loved so much. Like, I think we forget, yes, they had the ending of a lot of those episodes they were questionable at times, kind of similar to this episode.
Yeah.
But a lot of the content, the writing for some of those characters was so brilliant. Viserys was great. Allison, for the most part of that season, was, I think, fantastically written. There's so much I love. And part of this comes down to I like the source material. Not, okay, how do I put this? I like the higher political drama. I like
Hmm.
the overarching wars more than I like the smaller story in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And that's not to take away that it's not a great story. It is. I think the first novella, okay, Dre, let me address this right away. I didn't like the ending of this episode. I still rate it highly. So it's that tug of war, and it's so hard to compare because A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is much smaller than House of the Dragon for its runtime. So,
Yeah.
I can point to a lot of great things I loved in this season. I can do the same thing with House of the Dragon season 1, and even almost more so. So, it's so tough. It's so tough to me. I think both have their strengths, their weaknesses. I have no problems with anybody that has A Night of the Seven Kingdoms higher than House of the Dragon season 1. I can totally see why. And I even think House of the Dragon season 1 is hurt because of season 2. But if I went and looked back my investment in that show versus my investment in this show, I'd probably be a little bit more into House of the Dragon. And that's my own bias. I totally know that's my own bias because I'm more excited for the dance and wanting to have this story of so many characters I really enjoy versus A Night of the Seven Kingdoms where it's a lot smaller, and part of it also is we're going from season 1, which is my favorite of the novellas, to season 2, which is my least favorite of the novellas. So it's also a bit of that as well. The source material, I know where we're going is, I don't know. There's a lot of things that play into it. It's a very interesting conversation,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my overall thoughts on it.
That's totally fair. Also, the fact that House of the Dragon season 1 kind of ends on a cliffhanger with the Dance of the Dragons War actually about to begin. So you're hopped up on
Yeah.
excitement. You're like, oh, the good stuff's coming up soon. Obviously, hindsight being 2020, we realize that maybe we were excited a little
Yeah.
too soon for that. But then this season, it just ends less on a cliffhanger note of it like, oh, good stuff is coming, and more of like, all right, that was like really sweet, minus the MAEKAR stuff. But like there's nothing really there that gets you like hopped up on excitement. It's more like, all right, I'm eager to see what comes next, but it's not like this, oh, the war is about to start kind of thing. I totally get that,
Yeah.
man.
I do want to answer this. So Kyle asked, "Do you think you would feel different if we had 7 or 8 novellas instead of 3?" I don't think so, but
No.
it would depend because, like, for instance, with the first novella being my favorite, based on the source material, the show can never like get to as good as it is now. If we're just looking at source material, they can definitely improve and do better on the things I didn't like in season one. But in terms of the source material, for me personally, we have hit the highest. So it would maybe be different if I really loved the fourth novella, the fifth novella, and I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
we've got my favorite novella coming up, in a couple of years or whatever. But that isn't to say I still really do like the second novella. I still really like the third novella. I'm still very much looking forward to this show. But like I said, House of the Dragon season one between season two, go back and rewatch my videos in between those. Rewatch. I made a YouTube short talking about just how House of the Dragon season two I was expecting was going to be so good. I had such high expectations for it. That comes off the back of I liked House of the Dragon season one a lot, and there's also a bias because that's when my channel started to like actually get a little bit of traction was the first season.
Yeah.
So it's a personal thing, 100%.
If there were like 7 other novellas, let's say we had 8 total novellas and The Hedge Knight was the absolute best of those 8, then maybe I would be more disappointed. But let's say, The She Wolves of Winterfell is like the best novella ever, and even The Village Hero manages to be a surprise hit, then maybe I would be less mad about the MAEKAR change. But I don't think it really changes our thoughts on this season as a whole. I think we'd still probably feel the same.
Yeah, agreed. I think so.
Can I answer this one right here by
I was just
Zach?
about to pull that one up. So yeah,
Oh,
sure.
perfect. Great minds think alike. Could we get more novellas by the end of the year? I am going to say George might be actually inspired to write more. He might actually be writing more as we speak. I I don't know. I don't think so. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I think it's unlike the Winds of Winter, which for me went down from like a 5% chance of we'll see this in 5 years to a 0.01% chance we'll see this in 5 years. I feel like the Village Hero and the She Wolves of Winterfell, whichever one comes first, went from maybe a 2% we'll see this in 5 years to maybe like a 50% we'll see this in 5 years.
Just to answer it directly, I don't think we'll see one by the end of this year.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more likely we see one next year. I could definitely see that, especially with House of the Dragon, or not House of the Dragon, Night of the Seven Kingdoms season two. So
Yeah.
maybe it could be somewhere where like the hype's building for it, and him announcing a book or releasing a book could really help that season as well. Not that it necessarily needs it. The show did really well in season one viewership wise, which is a big thing I was surprised by. I was surprised how much this show did well with bringing in new viewers and all that. So yeah, I think that was good. Kyle says an interesting comment. I have a love hate relationship with House of Dragon season one. At times, I love it, and then hated parts of it. Yeah, but I think it's almost like we view House of the Dragon season one so much differently now because of season two. Where House of Dragon season one, if you remember, a lot of it was similar to A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, where it was like one or two things that I would go, oh yeah, didn't really like that outside of like episode 9 probably, but it was a lot of like, oh, I loved episode 5. Allison's screen dress walk, huge character moment. I loved all of the things that happened there. But then Kristen Cole, kills a guy at a wedding, and there's no real repercussions. It was a lot of that, and it's A Night of the Seven Kingdoms had that to me as well, but not. I don't think as like not as major. Like theirs was more like, oh, we have a random witch lady who's telling the futures of our characters randomly, and then it's never brought up in the season again, and it's just like, oh, okay, well that was random, very weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do get the point though.
There were definitely red flags in House of the Dragon season
Yeah,
1 that maybe we either overlooked or we saw them, but it's like, all right, well, we'll see where this goes. And then we saw where it went in season 2 and wasn't exactly happy with it. There's a few red flags, well, not red flags, a few yellowish, reddish flags here in season 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms that I am like, that's strange, but I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt, and we'll just see where we go from here.
And yeah, and that's exactly the sentiment we had. A lot of us had in season 1 of House of the Dragon was, there's a lot of flags here, but the writing for a lot of these episodes is so great.
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting. So yeah, Dre brings up a good point. I mean, it's much easier to adapt to Night of the Seven Kingdoms than it is House of the Dragon.
that's true. That's very true.
Now, it would have been even easier if they had made a Night of the Seven Kingdoms a movie, but that's a whole thing.
Let's see. He's got a couple. Sorry, I
No, go
cut you
ahead.
off.
Go ahead.
I was just
Go ahead.
looking at Matthew Stewart's comment about he's got a couple of novellas partially done, so I'm optimistic. That's the hope, Matthew. I mean, he also has 1,100 pages of The Winds of Winter, and for a while it was like, oh, he's so close, and I don't want to speak too soon, but
We shall
I
see.
would too, Kara. Would you, Grease, want to see
Oh yeah.
because it might have a very hot young old man making out with Dunk.
Hey,
We all
anything
want.
we can get from George that's not a cookbook. It's not a history book outside of Fire and Blood Part 2. I'm here for. I'd love to see more novellas. I'd love to see Fire and Blood Part 2. Would love to see Winds of Winter.
Yeah,
But we just gotta see it.
old man was definitely a baddie back in the day, Matthew. Oh, don't we know it? Uh,
I'll do it just for you, Maz. General Kenobi.
howdy, Maz. Good to see you. Yeah, that's I think pretty much my own thoughts, Grease, on the episode and season one as a whole. I know we spent most of it kind of talking negative stuff, and the negative stuff was maybe like 2 minutes of the 31-minute runtime. But I want to reiterate, I really like this episode. I really like the season. There are things that stuck out to me that I just needed to vent about. Thanks for letting me vent, guys. Thanks for Grease. Thanks for having me on here. It was fun talking it out of the Seven Kingdoms, and I now look forward to our. Well, I'm excited for our crash outs more than anything than the actual show, House of the Dragon season 3, when June comes around.
House of the Dragon's a very interesting show at the moment. For Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I was more excited for the show than I was the live streams. Now it's the opposite. House of the Dragon, I'm way more excited for the live streams
Yeah.
afterwards than the actual episodes themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, JC, go back to the end of the live stream. So, for you guys that missed in chat and for JC, so our live stream started it was a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and then we finished and we did our season rating and all that stuff by 40 minutes. The back 20 to 30 minutes is literally just House of the Dragon season 3 trailer with Ricky having a semi crash out mixed in with some other random stuff about Game of Thrones. We somehow divulged into the Fens and how they're different than the book of the show. And then it got to the point where I got backed into a corner to try and defend Ollie. So that was interesting.
Oh,
But
Ollie's
yeah.
indefensible. What the heck? Why would you defend
Yeah.
Ollie?
Well, okay. It was a little bit of Voice of Old Town propaganda in terms of I was saying, or he made a comment where it was see, Greece likes to defend a lot of these, not great characters like Viserys and Joffrey, and I'm sitting, hold on, it's about understanding them. It's not about defend. And then it's a whole different thing. But yeah, so I would very much recommend for anybody in the chat or JC as well to just go to the 45-minute mark where we talk about the House of the Dragon season 3 trailer.
Oh, I'm excited. Was Ricky the most negative of you three on
Oh
it?
yeah, clearly it was Becky was more positive. I was in the middle, and then it was just Ricky was yeah, I watched this in old man voice. I watched this on Twitter, and I didn't even care. It was funny. It was funny. So,
That's hilarious. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You guys are gonna corrupt Becky is what's gonna happen. Becky's gonna turn into
we've already told Becky this. I literally was yeah, JC used to be kind of like you, Becky, where you come in and you were more neutral and positive, and then eventually he got sucked down into the pit of despair.
Well, that's more of Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess's fault, but I mean, these streams are a good outlet for that. Yes, for sure.
Yes. This is a great point. I'm excited to see Aegon II. I'm excited to see Otto. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
how they depict Daron and Tessarion.
Oh yeah. If anything, it'll be a beautiful looking season. The
I
writing
hope
will
it's
probably,
entertaining.
yeah, yeah, and I'm not gonna say that the writing will probably be shit. Hopefully, it's not, but you know, there'll be fun things to talk about probably one way or another.
There was no writer's strike this time, so maybe the writing will be slightly better. Even though a lot of people give passes to House of the Dragon for the writing strike.
I don't
That's a
know,
whole different
man.
conversation. That's a whole you got to
Yeah.
read the script once. Read the script one singular time and you would go, "Hey, this is stupid. Maybe we shouldn't do this." So it's just a whole different thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, JC, anything you want to talk about a Night of the Seven Kingdoms related before we wrap up the stream?
Yeah, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was really good. I think so far, I don't watch a lot of TV, but of the TV I've seen this year, or of shows that have come out this year, actually, no, none of TV that I've just watched. I binged The Pit. The Pit season 1, I'd give that like a 9.5 out of 10. That's fantastic. But that was last year. I only happened to binge it this year. So in terms of like shows that came out this year, The Pit season 2, I would say A Night of the Seven Kingdoms season 1 is so far better than The Pit season 2, which so far is an 8 out of 10. This is an 8.5 out of 10. So far, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is my show of 2026. With a House of Dragon season 3, it probably will stay. I don't think Another Seven Kingdoms will be dethroned by House of the Dragon, but we could be surprised. And yeah, it was fun show, fun book, fun streams. Thanks for having me on, Greece, and I'm excited to see what's to come in season
It
2.
was a great time. We didn't talk about Raymond Fossaway. That's a good comment, Efren. So let's just
Oh,
we'll throw
sorry.
I'll throw in something quicker at the end. He was the Chad of the episode. He got the good ending. I know people are like, but he's gonna have the child of some other man with probably Manfred Dondarrion, but who cares? He's happy. He's gonna have a baby boy.
He has a
He's
horse.
beaten up. He's got Sweetfoot.
Hmm.
He's having a great life. Okay, he can tell his children for the rest of his life. I went to attorney, a trial of 7, the first one in like 100 years. I actually knew about it, unlike MAEKAR apparently. And I beat my cousin's ass. And then right after, I got a wife and then had you. Crazy, crazy story. Okay, Raymond Fossway walking out as the goat.
And then the son is gonna be like, Why don't I look anything like you, father?" And Raymond's gonna be like, "Oh, don't ask questions, son."
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe. Well, yeah, actually, both Manfred Dondarrion and what is that lady's name? Is she just called Red? Is that what we call her? I know
I
she
don't
has
know.
a.
Sex
It's like
worker, I don't
Lady
know.
Rohan or something, or Rowan
Rowan?
or something. Rowan.
Rowan.
That's it. That's it. Well, good for them. I'm happy they got a good ending.
Green
Exactly, the
apples
green apples.
green apples are in real life are tastier than red apples, in my opinion, so that works.
I'm kind of a yellow apple kind of guy, so I'm kind of in the middle of
Oh,
that, I guess.
look at you,
We like to be golden around here.
Grease the contrarian.
Hey, who knows? This is a whole new year in 2026. I might be in the House of the Dragon streams. I might be the forgiving. I might be the Grease the forgiving, and we'll have Ricky be the cruel one. JC, you can be like the moderate, like negative, and then Becky can just be like the very positive person. Who knows?
Grease, you're turning a new leaf. We're seeing a new side of you.
Maybe. I will say we will be live streaming again tomorrow, so we're going on a streak of 3 days in a row live streaming.
Oh, it's a live stream. Okay, I thought it was a recording. All right.
No. We're going live. We're not doing no recordings. We will be doing a tier list of all of the not all of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms characters, but the main ones. We'll see where they Becky will also be joining in, so Becky can be the person that balances out our chaotic nature. And yeah, so I hope you guys.
One,
go ahead.
Just season 1 characters. Gotcha.
So thank you guys all for joining us for our coverage of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I know myself, I have a little bit more content planned for concluding the show. JC, are you working on anything related to the show? Or are you hammering in some more books? What are you up to?
Going back to books. So if you guys love books, even if they don't happen to be published by George R. R. Martin, then come on board. Please stick around. Please stay. It's okay. I would love if you stick around.
Becky,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was my
we were
thought
not.
too.
We're not. I should have clarified this. We're not actually recording. We're going live. We're just banging it out
Nope.
right then and there. Okay. So yeah. So tune
Actually,
in tomorrow to hear Becky's takes.
can I
Yeah. Go
plug
ahead.
something?
Yes. Go ahead.
So if you want to hear super mega spoilers on the entire A Night of the Seven Kingdoms novella compilation, the Grease Goblins, Becky Does Blog, and myself, we recently ranked all the novellas from our third favorite to our most favorite. So if you guys want to hear some realistic, some very cold takes on our rankings, come on board. But they're interesting nonetheless. So definitely watch our thoughts if you care to do that.
What are you talking about? Okay, we don't all agree. We don't all
That's
agree.
true.
Two of
We
us
have
agree, but one of us does not. So there is a little bit of a controversy.
Yeah, one of the lists is slightly different than the other, but which one you'll have to watch and find out.
I guess so. And with that, let's end the live stream. And so, thank you guys for